Hi, I'm Stacy.
And I am Mark, and this is the Gurus and Game Changers podcast. Today on Gurus and Game Changers podcast, the one and only Nikki Stanzione. What's up, Nikki?
Hi guys, thank you for having me. Oh, I love the bump shot. And I haven't even made you laugh yet. That was really good.
Oh, you will. We've talked to Nikki for some time. You will absolutely make us laugh.
I'm so honored to be here because, you know, you haven't been doing this a long time. So I really appreciate that you had me on today. This is exciting.
Yeah, we're excited to have you because you do personify what this podcast is about. And we're going to get into all of that, the guru, the game changer, the overcoming obstacles, the being successful no matter what comes in your way. It's yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I've done that. So, but for those who don't know Nikki, if you turn on your television, you're probably going to see her. She's been on, even in most recently, over a decade on home shopping networks, all the major ones for over a decade. That's only the most recent of her film career, her television career, her news experience, her off-Broadway theater, her game show hosting. I mean, you name it.
Wow.
Nikki seems to have done it, and you've done it well in an industry that can eat people up and set up a whole lot of regret and remorse. You still find success. So we want to go back.
Thank you.
Right?
You made me feel really good about myself. I have those days I'm like, oh, what's going on with my life? So thank you for that.
Wait, but that's true. Like we all have those days,
of course,
right?
Of
Where
course.
we're saying, what are we? What are we doing?
Yes.
How are we even successful? Or what's next?
It's so true.
Right?
It's so true.
Right. But you look back, somebody can look at your resume and say, wow, you're pretty darn accomplished.
Thank you.
So let's go back to the beginning. How did it all start? Where did you get that bug? And what?
Oh my gosh. I've had as long as I can remember,
Yeah.
literally. I don't think there was ever a time in my life that I wasn't on stage or wanting to be on camera or something related to this industry on some level or another, even if it was just singing at dinners with my family. So I've always been that way. My poor sister is not as much into this industry. And even when she was little, I would say, today we're planning to do this song. We're doing The Greatest Love of All for everybody at dinner on Mommy's birthday. You're going to take this part and I'm going to take that part and I'm going to go upstairs and dress like Whitney. So, I mean, I've been doing that my whole life.
Oh my God. I did the same exact thing with my sister, but I always made her play the boy. So we would do Grease, but she had shorter hair. So I would always be Olivia Newton-John.
You got to
she
be
would,
Sandy.
That's so funny.
Yeah. It was always Sandy. Yeah.
I love it. Well, and right away in my life, as soon as my mom recognized that was of interest to me and that it was something I could kind of flourish with, she put me into dancing school. I went to a performing arts school, actually. I had regular school. I didn't go to fame school. I went to regular school, but my after school was singing, dancing, acting, improv, all of that. And then I started doing local musical theater. And so I kind of grew up that way. And then in high school, I got the hosting bug because I had always done acting and performing, but I loved the presenter idea of it, just being in front of a camera and giving people information. So in high school, this is actually interesting. So in high school, everybody said, you have to try out for the school show because we have a cable news show. And I was very excited about it until I heard you had to be a senior to be on that show as the anchor.
Boo.
You could do a little reporting and just walk around the school and interview people, but I wanted to be the anchor. So I auditioned, I guess it was my sophomore year. I auditioned and they said, you're not a senior, but we can probably find a place for you. And then they came back to me and said, you know what, forget it. We're changing the rules. You're the anchor. So I was very fortunate.
That's amazing.
It was fun because I think I had the training and a lot of people just wanted to do it for fun, but it was really,
it meant more to you.
It was like the beginning of my career.
It was the beginning. You knew what you wanted to do way back then.
So I hosted the West Orange High School TV News for 3 years. And I had my catchphrase, which at the end of every show, because we talked about everything in the community, the end of the show, I always used to say, keep watching us because we're watching you. And so if I would go to Blockbuster Video or anywhere, people would be like, we're watching you.
Nice.
And then I thought, as I got older, that would always be my slogan until I realized how creepy that sounds.
I was going to say, it's a little stalkerish, but that's okay.
It's super creepy now, so I would never say that ever again.
I wanted you to end the show with that today. No, we won't do that. That's funny though. That means they're watching you. They know your tagline.
I try.
So you're seeing an impact, right? In what you're saying.
I did. And I guess, it's interesting you said that. I never thought of it that way, but that might have been kind of the impetus to get me to say, you know what? There's something to this. People actually are paying attention, right?
Yeah.
So then I went to school at Rutgers and I majored in communication and broadcast journalism. And then I also did more performing things on the side. And as soon as I graduated, I went right to LA.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, that's it. I'm going to LA. That's where I'm going to be.
Did you save money or how did you get out there? Like what?
No, not Really?
You just got off the
did you
bus.
sleep on
like
couches?
everyone
Like,
else
yeah.
looked around.
Well, okay. So I DJ'd all through college on weekends. I was a DJ for not clubs. I was like a mobile DJ. So I would do weddings and bar mitzvahs and corporate events. And I knew that if I went to LA, I could definitely do that job on weekends and have my weekdays free to audition. So I got a job right away at an entertainment company when I got to LA, and I worked there for 8 years. It really became my life.
Wow. That's such a success story. That's amazing.
It's funny.
So along the way, like, was there anyone, so like in the whole guru schematic of what we're talking about, was there anyone who sort of was your Sherpa and guided you along and like helped you through? Or was there more than one person? Or
I would say I was very fortunate because my family was always supportive. I think they even to this day, they'll say your business, like with that kind of voice, like, oh gosh, that business, right? Because it has such a stigma.
The biz.
And they didn't want me to ever have to want for anything. And they felt like I was too intellectual to take a career path that was so uncertain. But I knew that was what I wanted, and they knew it was what I wanted. So they were very supportive. My grandmother was probably my biggest fan. She was my best friend.
I love that.
And, yeah, so she was definitely a huge, huge supporter of me. But she later would say, I regret that we ever sent you to LA because then you never came back. Because I was gone.
In true Italian grandmother fashion. Right?
She's the Jewish side.
She's the Jewish side.
Don't even get me started. Yes. Well, she's actually, well, long story short, I won't waste all the time on that. But her grandmother was founded in a Catholic orphanage. But then she married my grandpa, who was Jewish. So we don't know what her original origins were. We should look that up one day. But yeah, so I have a lot of my family, Jewish and Italian. I have guilt. I have a lot of food, and I have a lot of love. But there's also a lot of guilt. The guilt
maybe
part
not
of
in
that.
that order. Like maybe it's
The guilt.
love,
Hopefully it's love first.
then
Love is
guilt,
always first.
Yeah, yeah.
then food.
Yeah, love is always first.
Or food first. Oh, I love
Well, and
that.
I'll tell you, my mother did. Food is always first. My mother took me to LA when I first moved out. She brought me there, and she helped me get set up. And she said, "Listen, you're on your own, but we're going to help you get here. We're going to help you with that first step. You're here now. We don't want you to feel lost and scared, and no money." So she did help me when I first went out there. But then she says, "But you got to work now. Like now it's on you,
yeah,
right?"
Yeah.
So
you're off the payroll, baby.
yeah, so I was
Yeah.
very, very fortunate to have that support early on. But then I realized I got very fortunate early with my career. But then I realized, maybe that's beginner's luck because it's not as easy as everybody thinks.
Yeah. It's rare.
What was it like to be on like Young and the Restless and those? What was the other one? All My Children.
All My Children. So
Yeah.
while I was right after I graduated, I moved later that year to LA. But right in between, I got extra work on All My Children, and then I got an under 5 job on All My Children. So
What's under 5 for the listeners out
Oh,
there?
I'm so sorry. For under 5 means you have under 5 lines, but you're more than just an extra because you talk.
I thought that was a featured extra, no? Is that something?
Featured extra means you're seen and maybe you're
But
on
no
more
lines.
regularly.
Got it.
But you're not a role.
Got it.
Okay.
So that was that. But yeah, that was exciting. I actually remember because the first day I went there, I went into the restroom and washed my hands, and Susan Lucci came out of the stall. Susan Lucci. I was like, this is so
She's
cool.
like an icon.
She was so
Yeah.
nice.
She was so nice. I met her as well over
Really?
at QVC.
What a
Very
nice woman, right?
Yeah.
And so humble.
Good energy. Yeah. The whole thing about her.
So down to earth.
Really?
So that was exciting. And then, so my first job in LA actually was Young and the Restless was my first one.
Wow.
That was
That's a major success for anybody who
know.
just says, I'm going
I
to go
know.
out to Hollywood. I'm going to get on a bus. I'm going to go out there and start a career. Did you have like any guardian angel along the way that sort of?
maybe my grandpa, but I will say that. So my mother I grew up with my mother watching Young and the Restless obsessively. She still does. It was her favorite show, and her favorite character was Nikki.
Is that
So
why?
I
Is
thought,
that
how ironic that my first job was my mom's favorite show, and the main character is my name, right? So that was kind of like a fun synergistic.
Did she name you after that character?
She
per
may
se?
have.
Like, did
well,
she?
my sister's name is Mandy, and she's a massive Barry fan. So
Okay.
anything's possible.
Yeah. That's
That's
awesome.
too funny.
So that was, and it was a recurring role, and it was really exciting to me. And I didn't have a major character, but I was on enough that I was getting the acting bugs, fulfilled on some level. And I kept saying to people, it's not so bad. Like everybody says it's so hard to get work.
Yeah.
And then I bit my words because I realized after they changed the actress who played the character my character was really good friends with, and they kind of changed the direction of her storyline. And all of a sudden I wasn't getting called to come in. And I realized, oh, it's not so easy after all. It was very short-lived. And then one after the other, things would, start to happen, and I'd get really close to to a job, audition, call back, second call back, and then it would go to a celebrity or a bigger name.
Right.
Yeah. That I always said that about the entertainment industry. Like any other job, it's your output. You can judge the output. I made this thing. I wrote this copy. I built this website. But the output is you. So when somebody says, I don't like it, they're saying, I don't like you.
Yes, they say don't take it personal.
Yeah.
But
It's impossible.
So personal.
No.
It's so personal.
The whole audition process has to be so almost demoralizing because we cast people and we'd had them in for auditions and every time I'm like, oh, they're so good. Like I hate
And you feel bad.
hate that.
I know. You feel so bad
I love
saying
each
no.
Do you?
one
Because
for
I
different
always
reasons.
wonder on
No,
that
you feel
side.
well.
You really do.
90% of the time you feel bad. 10% you're like, oh my God, why did this person walk in the door?
Well, there's that challenge. And I went to acting school. And when I was in LA, I did study and work with some of the best acting coaches. And I felt like I learned a lot. And one of the things that I thought was really important that I learned, which I would share with all of the listeners, because this is so important. Number one, you will be rejected a lot more than you won't.
Yeah.
Amen.
And if you can't have that thick skin to recognize, yes, we say it's not personal. It is personal, but personal can mean you look like the casting director's ex-girlfriend. Personal can mean you wear the same perfume as somebody's biggest enemy, whatever
Right.
it is.
Right.
So yeah, you take it personally, but at the same time, you have to have the thick skin to recognize it's not necessarily something about you. It's
Right.
just something that is not what they want, right?
Yeah.
And you have to kind of separate yourself from that rejection to not let it get you down.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Did you ever have like a weird experience with a director or casting agent or something? Like you don't have to talk
Underbelly.
about it or we could cut it out, but like
I had a couple weird things. Actually, not weird, cool, but then also kind of weird. So I would say the really cool one was I had an audition for Lou DiGiamo, who was, I believe, the director of Donnie Brasco, if I'm not mistaken. And he worked a lot with Johnny Depp. And again, now I sound like, oh, I'm such a big deal. I was literally doing a recurring character on Young and the Restless and then nothing. So I was just DJing on weekends, hoping to get work, auditioning and not getting the jobs. Then I get a call from my agent at the time and said, there's an audition. Johnny Depp is doing a movie. This is crazy. And you would play his younger sister, I believe. It was something like that. And she's, a rebel. And it was basically everything I'm not. And I had to really dive into this like thought process of who is that person. And so I said, well, I need the sides, which sides are the script, right? The copy. And they said, there's no sides. It's all improvised. You're going to be improvising with Johnny. With Johnny Depp. Now, usually on an audition, you go
No
in,
pressure.
You
No
meet
pressure.
with
No
the
pressure.
Right. You meet with the casting.
Right.
And then maybe you go to a callback and then you meet some more people on the production. And then if you get to the screen test situation, then you get to meet the actor you'd be working with. This was the first audition, right?
oh my gosh. So Johnny Depp was sitting in there in the room?
Still thinking about this makes me like get the chills. What was crazy about it was that I get the notification that it's going to be at this hotel, in this hotel room. So then I thought,
Red flag.
Creepy.
But not Johnny Depp.
right. I thought, this is not good. This is not. So then I had my agent check it out and they said, no, this is definitely on the up and up, 100%. The casting director is going to be in the room with him. It's not just the two of you alone. It's very like 100% okay. It's
All
very
professional.
professional. Yes. So sure enough, I did go on that audition and then I met him and he was wearing a red bandana. I remember that.
What?
So like a Chachi bandana. Yeah, the Chachi word on the leg. He wore it
Yeah.
on-
Oh, no, I know. Happy Days,
Oh, yeah.
listeners. Happy Days. You ever seen it?
It's the best. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So yes, so he was super kind and we just improvised. And it was the weirdest experience because to this day, I can't believe that actually happened. I so rarely have talked about that
Wow.
because it seems so unreal and unbelievable that I'm in a room auditioning and I'm a nobody at this point in my mind, right? And so I was very fortunate. It was an amazing experience.
Were you nervous? Like,
Of course. I was petrified.
I mean,
I don't even know what I did. I couldn't even tell you.
you blacked
I
out.
was 22. I don't even remember. I was a kid, and I just know that it was so exciting to me that I probably did a good audition because I was so out of my own head because it
Right.
was so unreal.
Right.
that I probably just lived in the
You were
moment.
in character, yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And then nothing ever happened with it because they shelved the movie. So it never got to the next level.
So
But the weirdest one, which to your earlier question, I was an extra on Friends, which was one of my other early
cool.
jobs.
That's cool.
And that was super fun.
Yeah. Audience approval.
So I did extra work, and I was like, everyone's like, oh my God, you're on Friends. I was like, let's not get carried away. I'm an extra. Okay. And it's funny because to people that knew what I wanted to do and people that were outside of that world, it sounded like so big and impressive. But to me, I knew I almost felt guilty when people would get impressed because I was like, I'm just an extra, you guys. I'm not even talking. Like, I'm just there.
Yeah.
But
that show was so huge. I mean, even just being an extra, that's
Just
actually
being on set with everything.
being on set.
Really
like the
cool.
couch is now like on
Yeah.
up for auction.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And late 90s.
Yeah.
So it was the heyday.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, there's Jennifer. Oh my gosh, there's Courtney. And I watched Courtney on Family Ties, so I was very excited about her and all of them. And I got to meet all of them, and they were all very nice. Jennifer, oh God, it's so good to meet you. Oh, welcome to the show. Oh, Monica.
Is that your first impression?
That was Rachel.
That's
So
great.
good. I don't, you know what? I don't, she's always doing that stuff. I don't know.
That's awesome.
So that was Jennifer. But I had, and it was actually fun because when I watched back the show, I saw myself. So I was like, okay, I wasn't just.
So was it like in like
had
where
proof.
were you? Like what was I want the story, the full story. So where were you sitting and what was the
was-
scene and what was the episode?
It was a big episode. It was the episode where Monica and Tom Selleck, Dr. What was his name? Peter? Was it Dr.?
No idea. Magnum PI. That's all I
Yes,
know.
well, it was Tom Selleck. Yeah. So they went to this wedding with Rachel and Ross because Rachel's ex-fiance Barry was getting married. And so they went to the wedding, and it was the season finale that year. And so there was this huge kind of cliffhanger of Monica and her boyfriend talking about they might have to break up because she wants kids and he was older and didn't.
I totally remember that one.
And then Rachel sang Copacabana with the band
Yes.
at the wedding.
Yes.
So I got to be a guest at the
You were a
wedding.
guest at the wedding.
It was amazing.
That's
It was
awesome.
a beautiful wedding.
It was beautiful. And Joey did ask, Joey. Matthew
I love that you're
LeBlanc.
referring to them in character.
Matthew LeBlanc actually, his personal assistant, whatever, was like, oh, Matt would love to have a way to contact you. And I was like, come on. And when I think about this story again, it doesn't even sound real because when I think about it, I'm like, did he actually?
Did you give him your number?
I did. He never called.
He never called.
Of course
Okay.
not. But then Matthew Perry, his assistant, asked me, would I want to audition for this new movie he was doing, which was called Fool's Rush. I believe it was Fool's Rush.
Fools Rush In.
Selma Hayek, right? I think.
Yeah.
And they were doing that in Las Vegas. And he said, would you like to audition? And I was so naive. And now looking back, I'm like, gosh, that was so stupid. Because they flew me to Las Vegas. They got me a hotel. And then he asked me to come and audition. He says, yeah, they're all wearing bathing suits for the audition. And I was there. And I said, I don't feel like, I have no script. And I don't feel like any
Parading
character
around.
based on what I've read about the movie. I don't understand why I'd be in a bathing suit. And he said, well, I mean, that's what everybody's auditioning in. So if you can just come in a bikini, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't Matthew Perry, the assistant, quote unquote. And so I said, you know what? I'm not feeling very good. I don't feel well. I'm so sorry you flew me out here, but I don't feel well. And I don't think I'll give a good audition. And then I went home and I looked back and I said, I don't know how I had the head on my shoulders to even do that, but I shouldn't have gone in the first place. Could have gone in a bad direction. But now that I think about it, I remember saying I wouldn't audition because he asked for the bathing suit out.
Well,
Wow.
Do you know now why they asked for the audition?
Yeah.
in bathing
Were there any women in bathing suits in Fools Rush In?
No, I think it was just a ploy to get me to his room in a bathing suit.
But they flew you in
Mm-hmm.
as a ploy to get you into a star's hotel room.
Are you kidding me?
I don't know. It just now that you know what, I haven't talked about this in like over 20 years because it's just not. It wasn't a big part of my life, but it was just one incident where I remember getting flown there. I remember having the hotel. I remember being excited, and as soon as he said what I needed to wear and didn't give me any script to read,
Yeah,
Right.
that
was the red flag
yeah,
that
of
I was
course.
like, I'll
How
make
old
my
were you? You really had a head on your shoulders, I think.
Early 20s.
Oh my
Holy
gosh.
cow.
I would have been like, okay.
I would have been like, okay,
Step one, I did that, but then
Matthew
step
Perry?
two, I
I
was
want the job.
Okay. Bikini. Okay. All right.
I would love to interview somebody who went to that audition.
Yes.
To hear what it was like. And
There might not have been an audition, Mark.
no, that's true.
that's what I'm
Different
thinking.
type of
Yeah.
casting call. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. Because that was really the only uncomfortable casting experience I ever had. And it
That's
was
good.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually.
Kudos to you.
Yeah.
It was not bad,
That's
but
amazing.
something that was real that I regret. I really regret this one. So when I was still doing extra work, because I had that, fame, so-called fame, doing Young and the Restless, and then still nothing was happening. So I got cast to do featured extra work on Boogie Nights. Now, at the time,
I love that movie.
it's my favorite. It's a top 10 favorite. I mean, I've only seen it 16 times.
Very good.
I love it. Love Dirk Diggler. So, and I love the music in that because I'm a disco.
And Marky Mark.
Yeah, he
Come
was Dirk Diggler.
on. Don't you love him, Mark?
It's
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Marky
me. I'm
Mark
sorry.
Raji?
Marky Mark.
Marky Mark
Funky
Labraji.
People have called me that, so I just assumed you were talking about
You're
me.
Marky Mark, and we're the Funky Bunch.
I love it.
We're good vibrations.
That works. Oh, look how it all fits together. Where's the applause?
Come on.
Come on, it's
We're having a concert break out here.
Sorry.
So that was actually very good.
Singing break.
It's a high note.
Very good.
So I knew that Mark Wahlberg was attached, but the only thing I think the only thing he had been in at that point that I knew was Fear with Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, wow.
He was frightening in that movie. He was so good. So I hear about this movie, Boogie Nights. Now I get like all the details of it, and it says it's about the porn industry. It's about drugs. It's about just awful things.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh no, like what is this movie? Like what am I getting myself into, right? Is this on the up and up? Is it even a real movie, or is this like in the Valley? Because that's where it was being shot, in the Valley. So I went to the fitting, got the fitting, and then they give me the directions to the house where the actual shoot was going to be for that day. And it is one of those houses. And I knew that neighborhood because I used to DJ. The company I DJ'd for, the office was around there. And my friend who worked there said, oh, I know that that's the neighborhood where they do actually shoot the whole pornography industry shoots there.
Listeners, the Valley is famous for shooting pornography.
Reseda particularly.
Reseda.
And that's where it was. So I pull up and I see all these girls and I see bathing suits, and I just got this really bad feeling, and I got scared. And I thought, I hope I'm not walking into something that is really, that I will look back and say, why did I do that? That was such a bad move. Well, now flash, so I didn't do it. I called my agent. I said, I'm not doing this. I don't know what this is, but I don't think this is right. First of all, Heather Graham, Julianne Moore.
Great movie.
I mean,
was it up for any Oscars? I think. Yeah, it was up for Oscars.
yes. And that's my favorite scene, when they're all at the pool at Burt Reynolds' house. That was Burt Reynolds' house in the movie.
Okay, that's why. So they wanted it to look like Reseda.
It was Reseda, but it was probably a house where they did shoot those types of movies.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's a big regret because it became one of my favorite movies. I would have been in an iconic scene of one of my favorite movies with some of my favorite stars if I had not been a little chicken, but I was.
Well, but like, who was your guru at that point? Like, that told you, like, was it yourself? I think it was you. Like,
Yeah. Who's the voice in your
who's
head?
the
My
voice in your
parents.
head? Your parents.
Your parents.
Oh, yeah.
It's
And my
always your
grandma.
parents, no matter how old you get.
My dad would be like, I'm sorry, what you're doing what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds like a
So you're
dad.
like thinking as you walk up, like, is my father going to watch this?
I thought of all of that.
Yeah.
I thought of all of it. I had all those thoughts going through my head, and I knew this is not the path I'm looking to.
Yeah.
And I also had to prove to them that going to LA was a good idea, and I did not want it to go down.
Right.
Then they'd be like, see, I told you.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
That's
right?
funny. It's in business ethics. There's this thing called the mother test. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
But it's if you're about to take an action in business,
Uh-huh.
and if you have to decide if it's an ethical action or not, you put it through the mother test. Like, would I want my mom to know that I'm about to do this? It's the same
I
exact
like
thing,
that.
right?
Yes.
Just got to check your morality. Like, nope, mom would be very unhappy with me.
I
right?
do that a lot.
And she out would come the wooden spoon, right? Did you get hit by the wooden spoon?
No, I got the grab, the,
you got grabbed?
the arm grab, like with the nails, like right here.
Yeah.
My mom
that
never
pinch.
hit me, but she'd grab, and I'd say, "Ow!" She'd go, "Oh God, please, ow!" She's like, "Come on, you're tough."
It's so funny.
Yeah, I didn't get in a lot of trouble. I was kind of a good kid for the most part. I didn't get in a lot. I was a little bit of a goody goody. It's kind of funny because All through my growing up, I wanted to stay close to home. I went to college close to home. I never drank. I was really good. I always had a boyfriend. And then flash forward, I'm the one that goes to LA, travels like the whole country to work for the last 20 something years of my life, and still single. So,
Oh my gosh. So that's like one of the questions you were thinking of earlier, Mark. Like, so like if you're your own guru, so what are those conversations that you're having in your head like now? So fast forward to like from that person to like what's happening now in your life. Do you still have those conversations? Do you still say no to things that, you know, maybe you regret saying no to, or that don't feel right, and you're happy that you said no to that?
You know what? I don't feel like I've changed ethically and morally. I don't think I've changed at all. I still think I have the voice. I have the gut feelings. I follow those things still. But I do look back, and sometimes I wish that I pursued one. So, because as my story goes on, I kind of went in different avenues. I kind of wish I stayed on just maybe one specific path and really just refined that and really went hard on that specific. Because looking back, I've always been very, I don't like to say spread myself thin, but I've always done a lot of things to have versatility and to have opportunity. And maybe at this stage of my life, maybe I would have moved home sooner and been married. Who knows? Maybe things would have been different, but I always have to believe things happened for a reason. So as far as regrets go, I kind of regret that I didn't maybe wait to go to LA a little longer and stayed home and sort of tried my way in New York first. But then again, that's the one time in your life you do it, right? So
why did you think LA instead of New York? Like, what was that?
I was told, number one, I look like everybody and talk like everybody in New York. I have a better shot in LA where everybody's more all-American looking, more blonde, you know, had
It's probably good
very
advice.
generic accent. I had that whole New Yorker thing going for me, if you will. So they thought you have a leg up because you have something different. Whereas here, kind of like everybody else. And if you want theater, stay in New York. If you want TV and film, go to LA.
Yeah.
So that was the catalyst. And I did do theater growing up, but you don't make money in theater.
Yeah.
And I knew that.
But so in that world, like of going to LA, the ups and downs, you have to stay resilient.
Yes.
Because you get no all the time, you miss opportunities all the time. What is it about you that you think fed that resiliency to keep fighting, keep going in an industry where everybody's like, I'm out?
I think that's a good question. I think there's two things. Number one was I love it so much that I can't imagine myself doing something else. And the second was because everybody who believed in me kept saying, you're definitely going to do this. I know you'll make it doing that or whatever. And all of those voices kind of pushed me.
All those gurus.
All those support
You had a
gurus.
bunch of gurus.
That's amazing.
Well, and you know, I'm sure it wasn't, I mean, for my family, I know it was my best interest, but other people, who knows? You never know how many people want to see you fail too. So there was also that kind of fire of, I have to prove myself. So I think I want to prove myself so that my parents and my grandma and my sister and everybody who's believed in me knows that I made the right choice. And then for people who might be like, yeah, right, she's going to go to
The naysayers.
Yeah, the naysayers, I had to say, see? So even when I wasn't doing well, I kept thinking, how do I navigate to a different direction so I can get in a place where I am succeeding? And that's kind of what guided me into the hosting world.
That's game changing. So like it's perfect transition.
really
So I was
is.
going to talk about you being a game changer, how the game has changed for you, but you're saying it right there. So like what was like one huge time, I guess, in your life where the game changed, and what happened?
I would say all the acting auditions, I started noticing that a lot of the people that were going out for the same type of roles were either much more experienced insofar as they had a name, or they were related to a name, or they had an in that I didn't have. And that's just the way this business really does work. So I started to realize, I know for my own mental positivity and my own state of mind and my own peace of mind, if I keep getting rejected on this level at something I know I'm good at, maybe there's something that I should look at doing differently, right? So I think it was, I'm trying to remember if it was this, I had an audition for a Lifetime movie to play the best friend of somebody. It was something like that. And I was told that I got it. I got to the final callback. And then they ended up giving it to somebody who was a name, whatever, it happens all the time. And I was like, you know what? Do I even really want to do this as much? I'd have to memorize lines. I found this, okay, I have a better answer now, because as I'm saying it, it's really coming to me. I found that in the process of all of the things I'm saying, your question is really relevant, because what shifted the game for me was every audition I was being someone else.
Right.
And I'm very comfortable playing characters. I love impersonation. I love all that. That's the performer in me. But authentically, what makes me feel fulfilled is being able to be myself and do something with what I have the capability of as me. And I recognize that. So I guess that was kind of the point where I was like, okay, I love acting, but do I love it enough to go through this and not even know where my next job is? Or maybe I kind of shift back to what I started with in high school, which was hosting and presenting and being in that role, because I already know I can be successful in that role and I don't have to be someone else. And that was when I knew I am going to go full force in the hosting world. And that was the change.
Yeah. Awesome. You changed you're your own guru, and you changed your own game. Was there any obstacles that were thrown at you along the way that made you change your game? Like,
well, going broke.
Oh, yeah, well, that's definitely important.
Motivator.
Yeah, that's a motivator.
I remember I called my parents. I was like, I'm not doing very well financially. I mean, I'm DJing and I'm teaching dance to kids and doing all of that, but it's not going as well as I wanted to, but I know that there's something I can be doing. And so at that time, I started working with an agent who I was basically hip pocketed by William Morris, because he was a newer agent at the time. Now he's huge.
Yeah.
But he was really supportive of my career and said, I know we can try to get you in on some things. And I was losing auditions to people like Ryan Seacrest and celebrities, right? Big names. And at the time, he was a radio personality in LA. And I actually met with him to work for him as an assistant until we both realized we would be conflict of interest because we were going out for the same jobs.
Yeah.
So it didn't. But he was so nice, actually. But I had this feeling in my gut, like I have to get something with hosting, right? So I went on some of these auditions and it really built my confidence because I knew I was doing it. I knew it was, when you walk out of an audition, you're like, oh God, what did I just do? But every time I did a hosting audition, it felt right, even if I didn't get the job. And so I felt like it was a chance for me to kind of hone my craft, actually.
Because you were being you. You were being your more authentic self because you were playing you.
Yes. And I booked a couple pilots, like little things, on some, like a scrapbook show on HGTV. Never ended up going anywhere. Little things like that. And then my best friend and he and I both have a very, I would say, I'm trying to think how to put this, a very unusual level of love for pop culture, to the point where we know too much. Like, we know everything about pop culture.
I'm with you on that.
It's a problem. Is that what you're saying?
It's a little bit of an obsession.
Yeah.
And he and I both had a lot of industry connections and contacts and worked in the business and knew people. And we thought, what if we create a show of our own? So we knew we weren't getting paid at the time. We knew that maybe nobody would see it, but it gave us a chance to interview celebrities on red carpets. And then we took it and we kind of started developing something with it. And it was exciting, but it never really went anywhere big. But we got to go to the Oscars and we got to go to a lot of the different award shows and do all of these red carpet interviews that built up our reels, built up our resumes, our experience. And then a lot of people started seeing it, and we actually got on a show. TV Guide was looking for like the best dynamic duo.
Ooh, that's cool.
And so remember when the TV Guide channel would run on your TV and you'd see like a show in the corner and then it would run the shows on the bottom?
I remember that.
So we were on that show, which was exciting. So we felt like our show was called Starstruck. We felt like Starstruck kind of gave us that opportunity. And then, I was doing auditions, and then this is the best one ever. You ready?
Yes.
I'm
ready. Are you ready?
Oh, let me brace myself here.
Hold on.
They told me to talk a lot.
All right.
Ooh. There's that theme song that I just hummed.
Yes.
That's the American Idol theme song.
Yes.
Okay.
Were you on American Idol? No.
Better. Well, it's not better, but this is what happened. So at the time, the agent I was working with, he calls me and he says, there's a show in the UK. It's called Pop Idol, and it's huge. And they're bringing it to America. And I believe it was Simon Fuller was bringing it to America. And it's going to be a big show on Fox. They're doing it kind of like a trial this summer. And they're looking for 2 hosts because on Pop Idol, they have 2 hosts.
Oh, my God.
You don't even know. You don't even know. Like, when I think about this story, it makes me want to cry. So they said, we already secured Ryan Seacrest as one, but we're looking for the second host. So go on. I had the copy like that said, "This is American Idol." Like,
Oh, man.
I had that script, and I had to go in and say, do the whole thing, and it went really well, and I got a call back.
Okay. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to host the show with that guy who I went to interview with to be his assistant. How fun. And I listened to him on the radio every day. That's all Ryan was at that time to anybody.
Yeah.
He was the radio drive home guy. You listened to him on the afternoon drive. So this is so crazy. So I go to the callback. Everything goes really well. And then we find out because Pop Idol were 2 male hosts, they changed their mind and they're basically dumping the final girls that they had at the callback. All girls are out. They're going to go for Brian Dunkelman, who ended up being the co-host and got fired after the first year.
Yeah.
Season,
Ryan was better. And I'm glad it worked out that way because Ryan is so good and he's perfect.
Whoever would have been with Ryan probably would have gotten fired.
Yeah, he's very good.
He's
at
so
what he
good.
does,
Yeah.
especially on that show.
Oh my gosh. He's a perfect
He was a
host.
pro.
He
I
really
never
is.
knew that that's how that played out. That's incredible.
Yep.
That's
So-
how they decided to go with another male host.
Wow.
And so I could have been the
You could
co-host
have
of
been.
American Idol. Can you imagine what my
Man.
life would have turned?
We probably would not be speaking to her.
No,
She
you
was-
definitely would not be here at the Gurus and Game Changers
never know.
podcast.
You never know.
that is a game changer.
That would have been
That
a
is-
big game changer.
Holy moly.
So at that point, I realized that being in Hollywood, it's not so easy. And my grandmother gave me the option. She says, if you want to move to Florida, there's a lot going on in Miami. And my grandma lived there half a year. So she said, I know it's getting expensive. I know it's getting tough. And at that point in my relationship, my boyfriend at the time didn't want to get married or anything yet. So I thought, okay, well then I need to pursue whatever I need to pursue to earn money right now. And so I decided I'll move to Miami, see what happens. And I got a job at this dinner theater doing a dinner theater show where I got to perform and it was super fun, but I was auditioning for hosting jobs.
Okay.
And that's when I got the game show.
Oh, interesting.
What game show?
So I hosted a game show called My Games Fever, and it was on all the Fox O&Os. I think it was maybe UPN here.
My Game.
It might have
What was
been.
it?
My Games Fever.
My Games.
And it was from the UK as well. And then they brought it to America. It was on for about 6 months maybe. And it was on network TV. I mean, it was 20th century television. And the Murdochs, Elizabeth Murdoch was a co-producer actually.
Wow.
So it was a big deal. And the show was zany and wild and kooky and
We need a clip. We need a clip
Was that
for
the
video.
most fun you had ever with all of your work? What was the most fun?
the game show.
The game show.
Probably because, well, yes, I definitely got to be silly, which is easy for me, but it was the least amount of work for the most amount of money and the most amount of creative fun I could have. I could
That's
be creative. every
awesome.
day.
It's a great trifecta right there.
So
Of course it was your favorite.
What do you think? So
And I
now-
gave away money to people. That wasn't mine.
that's beautiful.
That was the best part.
That's great.
They like you more. That's
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, all you're doing is giving away money.
When you say to somebody, you just won $10,000 and they say to you, I have doctor bills, I have this, I have that. I
Life-changing.
never knew where I'd get the money to pay for anything.
Wow.
Thank you. So, and you're saying to yourself, I can't believe I talk about changing someone's life
Right?
and not even coming out of your own pocket.
That's beautiful. That's
was-
a great
that was
place
a
to be.
fun job.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So what does success look like for you now, Nikki? Like what are you doing now and what's the next place you're going to go and
It's a great question. No, I'm kidding. It is actually a good question. So, because all of those things kind of fueled the fire of all the things I always wanted to do. And then I got back into news with AccuWeather for a while, and then I moved back to LA temporarily. Then I got a morning show in New Mexico on Fox, and that's almost tied with the game show because that was a lifestyle show. I had celebrities on every morning. We did cooking segments. I interviewed it was in the Breaking Bad days, and I was in New Mexico, so I got to have that cast on all the time. That was incredibly exciting. But then there was the whole shift into home shopping. So that's really where I've devoted the last several years of my life. And that has been probably the most stable that I've been in my life financially, because it was like, I always say to people, yeah, it's television, but it's really, I'm just a salesperson that happens to be on TV. So when people think it's so glamorous and you're so rich and you're like, no, it's not, that's not how it works. Exactly. It's a real job. It just happens to be on TV and you get to befriend people through a camera. So they see it, in a certain way that maybe is a little more glamorous than it actually is. But it did allow me to have, the real people job thing, like the benefits.
Yeah.
And then I made a really difficult decision this fall when I started talking to Mark about that. It was really tough because I've lived away from home since I left for college, except for when I came home to do the show in New York. And it has been an amazing journey, but I'm seeing everybody getting older. I have a niece who's 10, who's my whole life. And I don't have kids of my own. She's the closest I'll ever get. So I didn't want to miss any more years with her growing up at that stage. I didn't want to miss my parents as they're getting older. And I just wanted to be in a familiar place that was home again. So I've always made the decisions since that last job in Miami. From that point forward, every job I've taken has been because I got a job somewhere and moved for the job. So this was the first time since then that I moved where I wanted to live in hopes that then the job will come after. So it's a risk, but I've been fortunate to be able to freelance and still go back to some home shopping work and also do the news on a freelance basis as well.
That's awesome. So that's success to you, what you're doing now? Success is with family, success with your job, the role you're in now. You know where you want to go. You love being a host and being yourself. And then now, are you going to take that and expand on that? Are you fine and comfy with the way things are now? Or what are you thinking?
I'm very comfortable with where I'm living, and I know I've had opportunities offered to me to be other places, which would give me the guarantees that you don't get often in this business, which that's something to note and understand. If you are making this decision to be in this world of TV, film, radio, whatever, anything in this business, you have to know there are very few guarantees. And I guess that's kind of true for anything.
Yeah.
But particularly in this field, it's very uncertain. And so when you have that kind of certainty and that offer or that contract or that, opportunity, it's very difficult to say no to it because you don't know when the next one will come. But my gut and I don't know, it's weird because I've always been like, go with the safe decision, right? Except for when I first moved to LA, but that safer choice. And this time it wasn't necessarily the safest choice, but it's the one that sat safest in my gut, which was be near the people you love. Yeah. Because after COVID, I didn't see anybody I loved for years because I had to get on an airplane to see them. And I didn't want to have to get on an airplane to see people I love anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because you look at it as what is the grounding part of your decision. Before it was the opportunity, it was the money, it was to build your career. And you get to a point where what's grounding you determines how you determine success, right? And the grounding is, I want to be closer to the people I love. So it's like the game changed around you.
Yeah.
Right. And then you just adjust because everything's the same. You can still go out and you can go move to Iowa tomorrow.
Of course.
And I know you have opportunities in other states you can go to tomorrow and live there and rekindle that old you that took you down that path.
Yeah.
But now, and I've watched you over the course of, half a year or a year come to this realization that I want to be home.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
You want to be home.
It's true.
And I know how much your niece means to you. So I know the rest can wait.
Yeah.
At this point,
Yeah, and
because the success is being with the family, being with the people you love.
Isn't that interesting how you
really
kind of
is.
shift your priorities as you get older? And it doesn't mean that I don't still want to do what I love. And obviously we have to all make a living and make money. But I even thought to myself, if I'm not making what I was making, but I'm doing what I love and being around the people I love and all the things you just said, then I still feel successful, right? Now, and also just like sometimes when you let go, this is what I'm trying to learn. I sound like I don't want to be a hypocrite because I'm not doing so well at it, but I try. Sometimes when you let go of putting that pressure on yourself, things just start to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what's always happened for me, at least.
Totally agree.
The less
Totally
I
agree.
tried, and it doesn't mean
Yeah.
that I wasn't proactive or committed or prepared, but the less I tried or put so much pressure, so much
Well, you're
emphasis.
focused on the outcome, right? Everybody always says don't focus on the outcome, but you're still driven. You still have a great work ethic. You still have the hopes and dreams of doing the things that you love to do, but you have the family on the pedestal, right? You have the connection that you lost that you didn't have. I shouldn't say you lost it, that you didn't have. It means so much to you.
So true.
I absolutely love that. So then when what does Nikki think now when she wakes up in the morning that's different to win that day?
Oh gosh, well, first of all, I have to be self-motivated, which I didn't have to be as much before because I had job motivation.
Right.
In other words, I knew I had to be somewhere at a certain time every day. And that was with the talk show, that was with the game show, that was with the weather, that was with the news, that's with everything, and home shopping, obviously. So now, because I freelance, it's more like, okay, on this day I have that, and on that day I have this, but on the other days, how do I motivate myself to not just wake up and watch TV, because I can get easily distracted by that. And I love television. So I love watching it as much as I love being on it. So yeah, that's probably my biggest, I would say that not necessarily a struggle, but that's the thing I have to focus on is, okay, I have to make a plan for what I'm doing, because if I don't, I won't get anything done.
Yeah.
And that can be really tough when you don't have anything coming in, like knowing that if I don't work that day, I'm not motivated by the paycheck. I'm just motivated by the fact that I have to get to that whatever that is.
Motivated by the sweatpants. We were talking about that earlier too. Like, what's your routine? So like, Mark, you gotta say your routine. I'll say my routine.
Okay,
and
I want to hear.
5 minutes. You can change in 5 minutes. Okay. But yeah, so I mean, like, routines are important, right? And like, I just became freelance, so like, I'm still trying to figure out what to do with my life, but trying to make myself, slot into some kind of routine.
Exactly.
But it kind of changes daily now. I'm trying to really kind of do something habitual. Eric, my husband, is very, very habitual, very routine oriented. So he's kind of helped me.
That's important.
Because I'm
terrible.
I almost feel like routine is like a prison.
Prison.
Like that makes me, I don't want to do this the same. I don't like driving the same place.
Maybe that's why we're in this business, right? Because
Yeah.
we don't want to do the same thing every single day.
Yeah.
But then there's the side of me going, well, would that be so bad? Maybe I'd have holidays and weekends and nights to myself, because all these other jobs, you work all these crazy hours.
True.
But then again, I also kind of like the freedom of change every now and then too.
Yeah. Gotta have some change.
Yeah.
But like, wait, go ahead, Mark. Talk about your routine.
I want to hear your routine.
So it's funny you said it. So the routine versus the I don't know what's going to happen today, right?
Oh, you have two different ones.
Well, no.
Okay.
So it's funny because I
you
was
mean
forced into that.
Yeah.
I had routine my entire career. I was corporate.
Right. QVC is
that
like
whole
every
thing.
10 minutes you'd have something that you needed, right?
You get last minute calls too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it was nonstop. And then prior to QVC, I was a marketing director, just good old corporate America.
Yeah.
I right out of college into corporate America and different journeys in that career, journeys along the way, but laid off. Like so many thousands of people being laid off at 50 years old.
Yep.
It's like I'm a latecomer to this. I love having the flexibility.
Yes.
Right. And it's funny. My wife said to me yesterday, she said, I still think, actually, I'm sorry, it was this morning. We weren't talking about it. She just said, I still think that you getting let go from that job is the best thing that ever happened to this family. Wow. And it really is.
Wow.
It really is, for our son and all that kind of stuff. But no, the brief story of my
The abridged version?
The abridged version, is I get up very early. Okay. I mean, a lot of people get up very early. I get up specifically at 3:41.
Whoa.
Very good number.
That's about when I go to bed.
That's why I get up. I don't go to bed at past like 9 o'clock, 10
I
o'clock,
go to bed around
10:00.
3:42, actually.
Well,
Really?
you're built different. That's all it is.
I'm a night
right?
owl,
Yeah. What time do you get up?
It depends. If I have to go somewhere, I'll get up early. But if I don't, if I can just sleep whenever, my normal time, more like 10.
Oh my God.
Because I stay up all night.
That gives me anxiety hearing
Yeah.
that.
I get work done at night. I get so much done at night.
But she makes it work, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but what do you do between midnight and 3? There's probably not a whole lot of productivity happening there.
Lots of binge watching, but also I do like make my list, make my notes. Sometimes I'll go on, and look at what jobs and things are going on. If I'm doing the news the next day, I'll look at, I like to stay up as late as possible so I can see what the most updated current breaking stories are, so that when I go in the morning, I'm ready.
So here's what I do.
Okay.
Like I said, I get up at 3:41. For the first minute, this is the truth. Every day for the first minute, I just think about what I'm grateful for. And I'm grateful for the sun, and I'm grateful for my house and all that. But my family, the love and support of my family, my physical health, like all those things to put myself in the right frame of mind.
Great.
To then get out of bed. And then I know I have 18 minutes until it's 4 o'clock, so I can get up and, put in my contacts. I'm very formulaic.
Amazing.
By 4 a.m., I'm ready to either sit down quietly. I don't even want to call it meditate. I just want to sit down quietly, think about my day, and maybe gratitude a little bit more. Or I start going. I'm on my email. I'm getting my son's breakfast ready. Off to the gym. I'm there by 5. Back home. He's up by 5:45. I'm out the door again at 6:45 to go to my second gym, which we could talk about. It's a separate thing. Back home by 8:30. Thank you. And then at my desk by 9. And this is my everyday. But if my morning doesn't start that way, I am not successful for
throws you.
the next 12 hours.
But you are. And
It
you
is
didn't
unbelievable.
start that way today, but you're being very successful.
Well, you guys are pulling it out of me. You're right. I did not get up that early today. But that's but that's the thing is that works for me. And I've honed that. Believe me, I used to get up at 3:58, 3:42. Like I put a lot of attention.
Why 3:41?
Well, it was 3:42 until I wanted to add that 1 minute of dedicated gratitude.
Incredible.
Right. And at 3:58, because at 4:58 I'd be in front of the gym. At 5:58, I'd be at my son's bed, waking him up. At 6:58, I'd be at the next gym. At 7:58.
Why isn't it like an even number? Like at 6 a.m. you do this.
Because they open. I want to be there before they open. Sometimes they open at 10 of. You got to get there early.
So no, wait, what time do you go to sleep to get up at 3:41?
I'm never awake past 10 p.m.
Okay.
Almost never. I'm often going to bed.
That's not too bad going
quarter
to
to
bed
10. No, it's like 6 hours.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
It's not bad at all.
I mean,
That's why I don't think it's that unusual for people to get up early. Like get up early and take care of business.
you know, if I have, I wake up like when it's a weekend or then I'll wake up at like 10 o'clock. But on a day where I know I have things to do, I'll get up earlier. But it's not easy for me. I'll do it. I'll get up at 8:30 or 9.
You're just made different.
But even when I was doing that talk show in New Mexico, my show started live at 8. That was the time the show started. So I had to be in studio by 6:30-ish, and I did my own hair and makeup for that show. So I started getting ready by 5. And getting up at that hour was literally torture for me because no matter how tired I was or how much, how dedicated, and I was not late for one show ever. But I will tell you, I still went to bed never before 12.
Yeah.
Never. And even when I was so tired, I was like, I felt like I would always miss something. You know how you feel like if you don't get up early enough, you're missing something?
Were you a napper? Because that was exactly how I was. My
Never
sister
napped.
and I would be sent upstairs for naps, and I would sit there on the bed and stare at her while she
I've
slept. I'm like,
never napped.
There's some
that's
kind of
not
FOMO.
creepy.
I'm not,
You know why I don't
that
nap?
is creepy.
Stacey, I don't nap because I don't want to go through that whole wake up thing again.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
You feel
terrible.
worse.
It's horrifying.
It's the worst. So I'm like, I only have to go through that once a day. I'm not napping.
But in home shopping and direct response television, your schedule's not your own.
Never.
You could go. I know the heyday. I went 72 hours without sleeping. I'm sure you
Oh
can
my
identify
God.
with that.
Yeah.
You're on and then you're on again and you're on again and it's all live and you have to be there and you have to be on. Exactly.
And you have
to be
people
on.
talking in your
Right?
we have to talk about that a little.
And it's live.
It's interesting,
Right? There's
Yeah.
no
Nothing's
leeway for
pre-recorded.
mistakes and
No.
all that. Right. But at the same time, you don't even think about the fact that you're tired. Or you don't even think, and I say that to my son all the time. He used to come on air with me over COVID. He was on air in our house.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, Dad, my stomach hurts. I'm like, don't worry. In 12 seconds, when we go live, you're not going to even think about your stomach.
Yeah. You have to forget
and
about
I'm
it.
tired. You're not going to be tired. It's fine. So I don't, how much sleep you get. It's a whole different animal. We're going down a different path, but
Yeah.
it's still, you're dedicated.
Yeah.
you know the goal. You know you have to do. You're driven and you take care of business.
Yeah. I mean, and most of my jobs when I did weather, my shift was 4 to midnight. When I've done, except for that morning show, almost everything I've ever done, I've done nights. So I'm so used to being up so late. So when I have a different schedule, it does throw me.
Yeah.
So I think I'm so used to spending the last however many years working mostly late at night.
Yeah.
But where did you get your work ethic? Where did it
Oh,
get
my
your
dad.
parent,
My
your dad?
My dad works, and I'm not just saying this because he's my dad. I've never seen a human work as much as my dad. He works in the financial industry, but he met my mother. He worked in the car business, and he was the #1 Cadillac salesman in America.
Wow.
When they
For
met.
real? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Fantastic.
He's a sales guy, right? So, and he's so smart. He's been a principal of a school. He's had a travel agency. He worked in the car business. And then in his 40s, he had a shift and said, I'm too smart for what I'm doing. I know I can do something more.
love this.
And he educated
Love
himself. He got his master's,
Oh
he
my
got
God.
his PhD. I mean, he's done this.
Wow.
Let me tell you, he never stops learning. Now he's doing stocks, he's doing trading with Wall Street. He does so much because he's got such capability and intellect that he's able to retain information I could never
That's
learn.
amazing.
And he works so hard. And so whenever I say to my mom, I'm so tired of work, she goes, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Daddy's a lot older than you and he's doing a lot more. I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
And my
That's
mom's a hustler. My mom is
love
a
that.
hustler. She's always been in the fashion and makeup industry, and she was a personal shopper, and so she's also a hard worker. And my sisters have always been a very hard worker too, and raising a daughter. So
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
I'm a very
awesome.
hard work. My family gave me a great work ethic.
This is where that voice comes from in your brain. All your family, your
Right.
father, your
Holy
mother.
But I'm the worst out
Yeah.
of all of them, to be honest, because I'm doing what I really love, and I do it.
You're
on my
working
own
hard
time.
at it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
Why
it's
is
a
that the
different beast.
worst?
Well, because you know what? I shouldn't say that. It's just that they're more in the structural box
Right.
of
Right.
like this is what you should be.
Corporate. Yeah.
And I'm more, and even though they all kind of work for themselves and do their own thing,
Okay.
they still have that work ethic. Whereas for me, I'm like, all right, well, if I don't work this week, that's fine. I'll use that time to do this. And then when I do work, I'm going to go, I don't care if I have to work 12 hours and I get home at 3 a.m. And like, I just have a weird, different type of schedule. My body works on a different clock. So sometimes that may seem like, what are you doing? Are you working? Like, who works at 2 a.m? But I do.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just a matter of what you're used to, I think, also.
So we're just going to ask you questions, and then whatever top of mind pops into your head, that's the answer.
Oh gosh.
And then we're gonna close it out.
Okay.
So
You want to go first?
yeah, you want me to go first? You want-
Sure. Ask any question.
Okay. Here's a question.
Okay.
Favorite childhood TV show?
There's so many, but I'll go with Happy Days.
I was going to ask you who your first celebrity crush was, like as a
That
kid.
is so easy.
Who?
Danny Zuko. It's John Travolta.
Oh my God.
Honey.
And
From Greece,
Danny Zuko,
which was your sister, right?
Yeah, my sister was Danny Zuko in all of our plays.
Vinny
at home.
I forgot. I had to meet
Vinny
her.
Barbarino.
Vinny Barbarino,
my
Tony
God.
Manero, and Bud from Urban Cowboy.
Bud from Urban Cowboy. Yeah, that's a.
I will
callback.
forever be madly in love with that man.
If you could, not the classic. If you could go back and give yourself a piece of advice, let's just say you're gonna. I know how much you love your niece.
Yes.
You're gonna go whisper. She's 10. Go whisper in her 10-year-old ear.
Very impressionable.
What advice would you give her in this world today?
I think the best advice that anybody can have is just stay true to yourself, because it's always going to come back. If you don't stay true to yourself and you do something that doesn't feel right in your gut, or that just kind of sways you off that path that you were focused on, that's where you'll have the regrets. I'd rather have, it's like when I sell things on home shopping, I always say I'd rather have buyer's remorse than non-buyer's remorse. Because buyer's remorse, I can return it. But non-buyer's remorse, there's nothing I can do. It's over. I didn't get it. And now
Wow.
it might not be there anymore.
That's deep. I like that.
So it's kind of the same idea of life. You know, if you don't stay true to yourself or do the things that really speak to you or that are in your heart, you might not ever be able to change that. But if you make a couple mistakes along the way because you were yourself, that's okay. You can always try again.
I think it's perfect advice coming from you because you did stay true to yourself. The stories you've told us, you pretty much, that's what you did. You stayed true to who you were and what you wanted in that moment.
Yeah.
So that's great advice to give to the next generation for sure.
Beautiful. And it makes my next question seem so silly because that's so deep and so cool.
We could stop there.
And I think that I probably know the answer to this question, but Mark,
Sound.
have you ever slapped anybody in the face?
No.
Are you about to?
I have I'm trying to think, maybe in an acting class, like a fake one, but
There we
I don't
go.
think I've ever slapped. I did one time when I was in a fight with my ex many years ago. I think I did throw a slipper at him when I was mad at something. A slipper, like a soft furry slipper. I think that was about it.
That was the most violent you've ever been.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever.
I've
never hit
see
anybody.
you have any kind of temper at all.
No, I don't have it. I do not have a temper. It's interesting you said that because I don't have a temper. I can get loud. I can get angry, but I'm not really temperamental. I'm sensitive, but I wouldn't say temperamental.
When's
I'm
your
emotional.
When's your birthday? What's your sign?
I'm such a Sagittarius.
Me too.
I knew it.
I knew it too.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
I knew it.
Say your birthday. 1, 2, 3.
November
December
26th.
I don't know what either one of you
So
said.
my grandma was the 29th, and I get along so well with people that were born that week of the
me.
end of November. I'm December 17th.
Can we be best friends?
Please.
I think it already happened.
And you're such a Sag.
I'm a Sag
All the way.
through and through. Yeah.
I knew it.
Oh, this has been so fabulous.
This is great.
I don't want to
This
end
is great.
this.
I know.
I know this
was
is really
great.
fun.
Yeah.
I appreciate you letting me talk so much because, yeah, I haven't done a 3-hour like TV show in a while where I didn't have commercial breaks, which is what I usually do. So
Yeah.
this feels very at home for me.
Well, you definitely were a natural, and thank you for being our very first
Thank you so
Game
much.
Changer
Very memorable.
podcast guest. You were fantastic.
Oh, thank you both. I hope
You're the best.
I hope this goes so well for you guys. You think you're going to be so successful with it.
Do you want to ring us out with your famous statement?
Your catchphrase.
That catchphrase that you used to say?
I should say listening instead of
Yeah, go ahead.
watching, right? Instead of keep watching us because we're watching you, keep listening to us because we're listening to you.
Thank you, Nikki. Love you.
Thank you guys.